So back to the podcast I listened to yesterday, having that morning business meeting with God. Talk about that. Because I'm sure some people are going, what? Like, was that me in a room talking to myself? Is it me sitting in prayer and meditation? What is that? So give people an idea. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so a business meeting with God. So we're talking about making God the CEO. And just like if you were working for a corporation, you have these meetings with your boss, right? You may not have a meeting with the CEO depending on the size of the company,
right.
But when you make God the CEO of your business, he's your boss. And so just like you have a meeting with your boss, it's the same thing. And so for me, what that looks like is I put myself in a place of, I set aside time. It's a scheduled time. I have the same things I would take to a meeting. I usually have like a whiteboard in the room that I go into. I have a notebook. I have my Bible. And so I start off by having praise and worship where I just put myself in a space where I'm calm in my mind. I'm an achiever by nature. So it has to be an effort for me to get out of myself in order to be humbly able to hear what God is calling me to do. And so I put myself into praise and worship mode where I'm just thanking him for what he's done. I'm clearing out my mind. I'm reminiscing on all of the things that he's brought me through. I'm checking his track record. And so I'm silencing those fears and I'm silencing the way that my own thoughts will try to rise up against what he's telling me to do. And so once I get into a space to where my mind is clear and I'm positioned to hear from him, then I have my notes. Like, God, I have an event coming up. How are we going to do this? So even with the pandemic, I had a baby in the pandemic, had to get back to business. And then I had an event that was already sold out before the pandemic started. And so I'm like, hold on, I didn't think this was still going on when I came back from maternity leave. So God, that's an item on my agenda. What does this look like now? What does this event look like? And God began to show me how to still do it virtually, but maintain the quality and the level of excellence that we provide through our retreats, a podcasting retreat. And so I began to write down a plan. Everything that I'm hearing, I'm writing things down. Whatever's next on my agenda list, God, the 2021 is coming up. What do you have for me to do in 2021? What does that year look like? What are some things that I need to work on? And I write those things down. And it's just like a business meeting that I would do with any physical being. I'm now going to my boss and he is instructing me on what I need to do next.
Sweet. I love it. That's great. And I think maybe for some, hearing you talk about it, it doesn't sound strange. It doesn't sound, some people might not maybe put those words to it, but they might take that time in the morning, the first 15, 20 minutes of their day might be sitting in quiet time, just going inside and doing like what you say, but not really thinking about it. Like perhaps they're following that voice of, direction and leadership.
Yeah.
So I think I would challenge people to give it that intention and see what more happens, like what more creativity and resources just sort of flow from that. Mm-hmm. I wrote something down here. Yes. Okay. Because I was also, when I was looking at your website, something that really caught my eye, and that was how well you present and convey unity. I love it. I love the way you put it there visually. I love the way you put it there spiritually and how you talk about it and how you share it. And I would really like to talk about these 5 keys of navigating entrepreneurship. I thought those are really wonderful because what I love the website because we're gonna share. You're gonna share with people where to find you. She's got a book. She's got this amazing journal. So we're gonna give you all of those goodies.
Yeah,
all those goodies. But I want to say this about the website. It is so clean.
Oh,
like it is so, when I go there, I don't feel like I'm kind of like sifting and sorting to find. It's very, very, to me anyways, it's very apparent what is important and what you are really driven and passionate to share and teach with other people. So these 5 keys to navigating entrepreneurship are great. You have success is pleasing God. Be ready to give up everything or do it on your own. Business meetings with God, which we talked about, need to be your foundation. Don't move outside of God's timing. That I really, because I'm one of the most impatient people. It's my lifelong lesson because I'm overachiever, but it's got to be done right now. And it's got to be done perfectly. So I got a lot of lessons the infinite. And being a woman of God does not give you the excuse to be a bad business person. So these are amazing keys. So we've discussed the business meeting part. So talk about how success is pleasing God.
Yeah. So like I said, I always knew I wanted to be in entrepreneurship. And as I was building my relationship with God, a book that I parked in for about a month in the Bible was Jeremiah. And I had bought like a study guide off of Amazon because I needed some help. I got a really good study Bible where I was able to just, it connects the Old and the New Testament and makes things relevant. And so as I was studying Jeremiah, I was getting a little frustrated because I was like, why am I here? You know, Jeremiah is not an exciting book. It's long, it's out of order. Jeremiah was not someone that was widely accepted or respected. People didn't listen to him. They didn't want to hear what he had to say. God kept telling him to speak. He was not received well. And it was just not a fun read. So, and I was trying to figure out, like, God, why do you have me here? And so the reason why I was parked there for so long was God was trying to rework my definition of success, because I had the vision board with the white Porsche Panamera, the 10,000 square foot home in Potomac, Maryland. I had all of these things that
sounds lovely.
Right? You know, it sounds great.
It sounds awesome.
And so I had all of these things that I was working towards, but I needed to get into a space to where I would be willing to not have any of those things if that meant that I was pleasing God. Because he couldn't bless me with it. That what happens was my idea of success was becoming an idol because it was becoming more important than God. And so he needed me to see in Jeremiah that Jeremiah was successful. He didn't have a lot of things. He didn't have all of that stuff. He wasn't wealthy or he wasn't rich, but God considered him successful because he was obedient. And what God was trying to get me to understand is obedience needs to come first, and not conditional obedience to where I'm doing what the Bible tells me to do to get these things, but I'm doing it and I'm settled in the fact that I just want to please God. That needed to be the posture that I use to do business. And so that's why I say that. And then that's not to say that I won't have all of those things. You know, the Bible says that he's going to give us the desires of our heart, but I'm not working for those things. I'm working for him.
Nice. Oh, well, I definitely need to up my vision board game. That I know.
At this point, I was like, I don't even want to do it because I don't even have a vision board at this point.
But I do. I like that because it what resonates, a lot of what you said resonates, but I think it brings us back to not just faith in our relationship, but I think it also brings us back to, like, it's a nice reminder of gratitude, daily gratitude and gratefulness for where we're at today with what we have, and asking ourselves, what is the motivation? What, where are we coming from and why? Because that is a huge rudder in the direction we're going to go. What I want to pull from that, though, is that whole thing about giving ourselves grace. Yeah. And I'm not going to discount the dads, but I'm not a dad. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. So that language I understand better. Those feelings I understand better. So as a mom of 3, they're grown up now, but I really feel like women still, we can be so hard on ourselves because we're kind of posts. We are in a lot of ways an anchor to our families, the business, we really extend ourselves, and we want to show up in perfection at our best all the time for everything and everyone else. And then sometimes I call we leave the scraps for ourselves, and we don't give ourselves that grace. We don't feed ourselves. I call it like soul food. We need that soul food regular and weekly, because not only do we give so much, we're capable of giving so much, and we're capable of doing so much, but we a lot of times fail to put ourselves in a place of importance to feed ourselves.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's where my faith really helps me a lot. I'm a Christian, so the Bible is really a blueprint for the way that I live my life. And one thing that God revealed to me recently was, I think it's in 1 Peter 5:8. It talks about how we are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, a holy nation set apart to proclaim his excellencies. And so as I was frustrated one day, it just seemed like every week it was something that I was not getting right. And I was getting really frustrated with it because I'm a problem solver and I'm okay with not doing everything perfectly, but I need to find the solution for it so that I can do better. So if I feel like I'm hitting a roadblock, I get frustrated. And so what I realized was that I was trying to be God. And in that scripture I mentioned, it says that we're supposed to proclaim his excellencies. So if I was to be excellent by myself, then how would that give him the glory? And how would I win more souls for the kingdom? And so it freed me a lot from having to have it all together. So I do what I can and I allow God to do the rest. And like I said, I give myself grace because if he gives it to me, why wouldn't I give it to myself? And then also some things that work well now is just outsourcing as much as possible. Somebody else can come in here and clean up. I don't have to do it.
That's right. No, that's right. We cut ourselves some slack.
Outsource things that we can outsource and, give ourselves grace with the things that we do have to do.
Yeah. Now, you have this beautiful relationship with God. You have this really great faith, or deep faith, very authentic. Was there ever a time or have you ever had moments that you just even briefly felt like you just lost faith, lost hope, just what am I doing? Why am I did you ever have those moments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even before my faith got this strong, I was very 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It was like, I'm going to go to church on Sundays, but Monday through Friday, I'm going to be out here doing whatever that I want to do. I'm going to live the life that I want to live and I'm going to do what Tatum wants. And I was very lukewarm in a sense. And there was even a point in time, especially like growing up, my upbringing had a lot of difficulties involved in it. With that, I felt like, and my people that were close to me went to church. And I felt that, how are y'all in church, but y'all are doing the craziest things? Like I wasn't understanding. God wasn't represented to me well. And so having faith wasn't something that was that big to me because I hadn't seen it work out for anybody else, And so, but it wasn't until I got a little bit older, maybe like right after college, where I always knew though that God's hand was on me and that he was pulling me into a deeper relationship with him. It's kind of hard to explain. It was like I was out in the world doing whatever, living my life, having quote unquote a good time, but it was just something that I felt was missing. And it was something that I felt was pulling on me that I didn't need to be doing those things, that there was something better for me. And eventually that led me back to God, thankfully with God putting people in my life who were more mature than me that could mentor me and really help me in those areas to where my faith started to grow this way. But I didn't I call it saved. So I got saved when I was a teenager and I confessed that I believed that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, but my lifestyle didn't reflect what God had for me. But it wasn't until a few years ago, and it's only been about maybe 4 years, a few years ago to where I truly committed to him. And for me, it was, okay, I'm tired of being 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I'm tired of of having this feeling. I'm tired of not knowing if my name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Like I'm tired of it. I just got to decide what I'm going to do. And for me, I had a real moment with God where I was like, look, I'm an achieving person. So if I'm passionate about something and I want to accomplish something, I'm going to do what it takes to get there. So the fact that I'm not doing that with my faith means that there's a disconnect with my passion level or something. And I had this moment where I said, you know what, God, if you light a fire on the inside of me for you, then I will commit to you. And I feel that God met up his end of the bargain and lit a fire in me for him. And I've kept up mine to where I haven't turned back. That's not to say that I don't make mistakes, because I make a ton of those. Or I don't, that I get everything right, because I don't. But that's where grace and mercy comes in. But for me, the majority of my life, I'm not that old, but the majority of my life was spent not having faith and being lost and being 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And it's now only for the last few years that I've really committed to it. And just checking his track record over that time is what keeps me in that space. And seeing when there were so many things that I'd done that could have killed me, you know what I mean? Just following my own foolishness, for lack of a better word, that he still protected me. Even when I wasn't faithful to him, he was still faithful to me. And just keeping track of that keeps me on track now. But like I said, the majority of my life, I wasn't. And even now, things get very difficult. You know what I mean? And it all comes back to, and the way I keep myself grounded is it all goes back to that decision that I made. And above anything, I want to be a person of my word. So if I said to God that if he lit a fire on me for him, that I would commit to him, I want to hold that up. Right. And so even when my faith isn't as passionate as I may be speaking about it right now, I go back to that decision. So I may not be fired up, but I make the decision. I may not be deep or have the most wise thing to say, but I made that decision and I have to stick with it at the very least.